Has HR become the bane of your existence in your business? Well, on the latest episode of All Good Things with BBB's podcast, we have the answer for you. Eric Christiansen is the owner of HR Fit, a local BBB accredited business, and he is passionate about helping local businesses improve their HR function, culture, coaching, and development. So join us on this latest episode and help you become a better business.
All Good Things with BBB helps you be a better business.
Well, Eric, thank you so much for joining me on the All Good Things with BBB podcast. I appreciate you being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
You know, I love the concept of your business because it just eliminates so many pain points for small businesses and medium businesses and large businesses. But tell me about how you got into this business. How did you start in HR?
Yeah. Like, why would anybody want to do this kind of thing? Yeah.
It's the last thing I think most of us want to do. And here you are doing it full time.
That's okay. Yeah. Well, I came into HR kind of through the side door, actually, with like a lot of people do. So my formal training was in public administration. I was going to work in local government forever. And I started working in county government. And there was an opening in the HR office. And I thought, well, that would be good to know if I'm going to run this place one day. And county government, if anybody knows about local government, does a million different things. And at that time, there was a nursing home. So I learned healthcare HR. There's the highway department. So I was working with construction, road construction crews, law enforcement HR, which is its own thing. Then all the normal stuff that would go into, kind of a clerical setting. So I learned all these things that it would take me, literally a career, I think, to pick up on. And I loved it. I loved HR. I loved working with people. I loved solving problems in a way that could be good for both the employee and the employer. Eventually left that and went to be the HR director of the school district, was the first one there. So I learned how to build an HR department from the ground up, especially as a department of one, which I know a lot of smaller employers are in that spot.
Yeah.
And then 10 years ago, we started HR Fit, and it's grown from just me to now we've got 5 full-time staff, plus some part-time folks who help us out. So that's where we're at.
And you help businesses hire people. I assume the other side of it, letting people go.
We do the whole thing. So what we like to say is HR Fit helps make workplaces great through great HR. And I really, really believe that HR can play and does play a pivotal role in making workplaces great. And we come at it to try to help make sure that we're getting that client what they need from the HR space. We're certainly hiring people, right? If there are employee relations issues, then we're going to help navigate through that situation with them as well.
They're always so sticky, aren't they? So you stay up on all the laws and all of the things.
That's what we need to do. Yeah. We're not attorneys. We're HR practitioners, but we do know what it takes to run a workplace. Right? Mm-hmm. So that's what we do.
Mm-hmm. And even above and beyond that, you offer coaching as well.
We do. We offer coaching services. So that's one area in particular where we're able to really, I think, help employees, managers, new managers, new HR directors. Is kind of a niche that we have, because that's different now when you're on that side of the desk. And that is one spot where we see businesses, if there's a place where they fail, oftentimes it's that they don't equip their managers with the skills they need to be successful, right? Mm-hmm. Oftentimes someone is respected because they are the best, whatever it might be, right?
Yeah.
It's best subject matter expert. And so everyone thinks they're going to be awesome, and they are at that. And when they get into a management role, that might be a different skill set, right? And now you're managing people, and having those skills can be different, and that can be difficult. So the coaching can help position those folks for success and get them there.
So from your perspective, Eric, what are some of the foundational aspects of HR that every business should have in place? Do we need a handbook? How do we turn the handbook into something more than a dust collecting thing in the drawer?
Right. Yes. Which is always the danger. Right?
Yeah.
I would say the most important thing for any business, but then for a smaller business, is number one, be intentional about the HR function. Like establish it. Don't let HR just kind of happen to you. And that doesn't mean that you necessarily have to hire a full-time HR person. But you need to decide what is our HR function? How is it going to run? And where does that live? Give it to somebody, right? Because when everybody owns it, nobody owns it. And so it needs to be someone's. And then position that person for success. Give them the resources that they need to be successful. I know of one HR consulting company that is really good at helping those kinds of things, right? In particular. But there's also great resources out there. Society for Human Resources Management has great resources, and you don't have to be an HR pro to take advantage of that. So number one, be intentional about the HR function. Then kind of nuts and bolts, what are those things that somebody should really have that I would encourage everybody to have? I'd say three things, that you should, three tangibles. One, I would have an organizational chart, which might sound kind of rudimentary, but you'd be surprised how many folks don't have that. Who's in charge? Because the employees need to know who they're listening to, right? Who they take direction from. And it forces the employer to be more intentional, strategic about what functions live where. What is it we really do, right? So I have an org chart and share that with people. Job descriptions. I would have job descriptions for every job you have. And I mean a formal HR level kind of compliant job description rather than just like a job posting that you might put out there to try to get a job. Job descriptions are one of those things that are so boring and so mundane until they're not, right? Yeah. And then they become very important very quickly. Mm-hmm. Workers' comp compliance, ADA compliance, defending hiring decisions, having a job description that says what the minimum requirements are for education, for experience, what the minimum physical requirements, all that stuff becomes so important for an employer. And again, it forces the employer to be strategic about what is it that we really do. Mm-hmm. And so job descriptions, they're boring, but you need them. And then third, you already said it, a handbook. Have the handbook, have the employee handbook. Even if you have just one employee, I said, we only have a handful of employees, we have a handbook. We better, an HR company, better have a handbook. And because that is a foundational document. It's telling the employees what the company expects of them, but also what they can expect of the company, right? And so it really is putting everybody on the same page, helping them understand what it is. And it certainly is going to help an employer if they ever have to defend various claims, navigate through situations.
You mentioned, being intentional about HR and not letting HR happen to you. Can you give an example of how some businesses let HR happen to them? Sure.
Yeah. Well, let's stick with some of those examples that we were talking about there, right? Kind of a classic one is going to be with like an employee situation. So somebody comes, and this happens all the time with HR folks. A manager comes and they say, like, I am so sick of so-and-so. Like, they're driving me crazy. We got to do something. I think they got to go. And the HR professional is going to say, hey, maybe you're right. Let's talk about this. So what did they do wrong? Well, it was X, Y, and Z. Okay. So what policy did they violate? Well, I don't think they violated any policy. Okay. What expectations did you set? Did you tell them what to do? Well, I told them when they were hired. All right, that was 2 years ago. Have you talked about it since? No, I haven't talked. So in that instance, we've kind of got to start over, right? In defense of the company, but to be fair to the employees probably just, no one's told them differently. So they may just very well be doing things the way they thought they could, right? So if you're not being intentional about HR, you're not keeping up to date on the handbook, you're not training the employees on the handbook, you're not positioning your managers and leaders for success. And in this instance, giving the manager the tool to have properly led this employee, right? Mm-hmm. Now this is an issue. Now this is kind of at a boiling point for that manager. And maybe for other folks too, but we're not really ready to deal with it that way. We kind of have to start over. So if you're not intentional about it, you're not up front, taking care of those things up front, they can really compound and turn into issues.
Are there any other than those, not taking those three fundamental steps, are there any other mistakes that you see businesses make with HR?
Yes. So one we'd mentioned about managers, but I want to touch on it again, is it's so important to help your managers be positioned for success. And giving them the skills to know how to set and maintain expectations for employees, holding everyone accountable to the standards that we have. So I know that can sound kind of, squishy, or maybe it sounds heavy-handed, but we have to start with ourselves. We have to start with ourselves as leaders and saying, am I upholding the standards? Am I modeling the behavior I should? And then am I communicating to my employees and holding them accountable? That's where things really start to, that's where you earn it as a manager, is holding folks accountable in a constructive, supportive way that keeps them engaged to the organization. So number one, make sure your managers have what they need to be effective leaders. A little bit more nuts and bolts is people just go out and they substitute Google searches for actual advice, actual resources. So Google is great. You can have a lot of good stuff out there. AI, same thing. It's going to give you a lot of information back. But that doesn't mean that it applies to your business for the size of business that you are, for the type of business that you do.
For the state you're in.
For the state that you're in. You pull that awesome handbook from the great big employer in California that looked great. You probably just gave them FMLA. You probably just gave them different overtime regs that you didn't have to comply with, right? And never mind a bunch of other things. So Google is not the same as sound advice.
Yeah. What would you say is one small change a business owner could make tomorrow that would make a better HR for their company?
One small change that they could do is, I would say, think about being intentional, even if you're not to this point where you're like planning about it. But I would think about that HR function. Think about what kind of gives you pain. Start there, right? Tackle that piece. So maybe it is employee relations. I have these employees who keep complaining about this thing or that thing, or they don't like the schedule. Okay, well, let's talk about what that is. Maybe it's the hiring, and you're like, gosh, we don't seem to be getting the candidates that we need. Why is that? Maybe it's comp and benefits. How come we can't retain people? I wish we could pay better. Maybe there's no benefit solution. I start and think about what are those things that are kind of those pain points. What are things that are getting in the way that I think is HR? That's from your low hanging fruit, right? And so come up with a plan to solve that one thing. If you have HR issues, they didn't get that way overnight. You probably won't be able to solve all of them overnight, and that's fine, right? Think about the stuff that's causing the greatest issue right now and start to chip away at that.
I just was thinking about the main relationship factor between the employer and the employee is trust. So HR kind of the vehicle of ensuring transparency and trust in the business with the team. Would you agree?
I 100%. We talk as a staff. We're really in the trust business. Like, we have to get our clients to, if they don't trust us, they're not going to trust us with these employees components. And I think HR is really, in a company, in an organization, is the same way. They are uniquely positioned, I think, to help the company connect with the employees and connect the employees with the company. That's their job, in my opinion. And it really, good HR understands that it's both those things, right? HR gets the rap of, you're just here for the company. They're employed by the company just like everybody else. But good HR understands that if it's bad for the employee, it's going to be, first of all, bad for that person, which we don't want. But if it's bad for the employee, it's bad for the company too, right? Good HR connects the two. It stands in the gap, and it connects the employees to the mission, and the mission back to the employees. And if you're not trusted, you're not going to be able to do that.
Fantastic. So your company has been accredited with BBB for a little while now. Obviously, trust being a main factor in your company, but how has accreditation helped your business, or how do you feel about your accreditation?
Yeah, well, use the magic word, trust, right? That's what we're trying to make sure that is happening with our clients, within our clients from our services, and that our clients are trusting us. And so to have the accreditation, it fits very naturally into that mix, and it supports our attempts to do that and connect. So having that accreditation is incredibly helpful. It aligns really, really well with what we're trying to do.
All right. Well, I hope you learned several things about how HR can actually be a friend in your business and not a foe, and not to be afraid of it. Lean into those pain points when getting started and being intentional about HR. And if you don't want to mess with any of it, HR Fit right here in Peoria, BBB Accredited Business, is here to help you be a better business. Thanks for watching.
All Good Things with BBB helps you be a better business.